Hello and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And we're here to review Victory Road. I think that I'm going to have to address, quote unquote, the elephant in the room, so to speak. The whole situation with the Knockouts title. I'm not. I'm pretty sure that this wasn't the plan, like from the get go. Um, like in some ways, at least, whatever. Um, so I'm not sure what's going on with Ash, if she's injured or like what the deal is, why she's vacated the title and no longer going to be wrestling and all of this stuff. Maybe she'll return one day, who knows. You never say never, you always say that. So I do want to wish her the best of luck. I think the biggest, not myth, but sort of the biggest myth, or one of the biggest myths, is that this is hot potatoed the title. And I did not love that. I do not love that. It is, not good to say the very least, in my opinion. Because I felt like, you really needed to have Ash hold on to it for like a good 6 months, a good year, or whatever else it was. And I felt like she'd earned it. She'd been like grinding away there for a long time. And, she was the next person that I felt like deserved to be in that position, that they could elevate into that next position. And I thought that, like having her as the champion would help elevate some of the younger talent that were there, like Zaya Brookside and some of the other people that are there. So I liked the idea of them saying, okay, well, if you're going to vacate it, we're going to have a match or a couple of matches or whatever else it is to get people, well, not just to get people invested, but to get like this title to some point at, somewhere. I think I can see where they're kind of going with the title right now, like with what they've kind of done. And I'll talk more about that later on as we get more into the show. But I guess I want to talk about the Battle Royal first before really going too much into anything else, because even though like there was a match or so on the pre-show, like this wasn't on the pre-show, but I feel like that this is so much like this is the main talking point from this show. And I feel like it's really hard because, like, I think as well, it's like the last couple of weeks or whatever it's been, all that Masha Slamovich stuff has been like floating around, and like they just brought Tessa Blanchard back. So it's like there's also that kind of like negativity there as well. So like I feel there's been a big bit of negativity there. So I don't know. Like I know they're doing the best of what they can with what they can, but I think, as I said, I don't know what the specific issue is. Certainly, I don't want Ash to continue if she can't continue. But it would be better if it was like, this is why, like a specific reason, not just I'm going away now, bye, kind of thing. But I do hope for the best for her and whatnot, and whatever she's deciding to do after this. So we, but like, as I say, I'd like to give things a chance and like whatnot, but I think like, what was it, like a few months ago, we had this same sort of experiment in some ways. Well, not the same, but very similar. I think there is potential for it, especially with like what you're thinking down the line, like later on down the line. So, like, I don't know, but still, I feel like the whole situation was like handled kind of poorly. Like, in some ways. Like, maybe you shouldn't have done it. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe you should have just done the Battle Royal tonight and then said, okay, in at Bound for Glory, this is going to be the match. And, but then again, it is very much like, well, you had a scheduled match, so now you kind of want, that scheduled match to involve the champion, whoever it's going to be tonight. So it's like, well, and like, again, you've got to have somebody holding that title, like, for the most part. Like, if you're gonna vacate the title, one of the best things to do is, as quickly as possible, put some other person with that belt, or have somebody hold that belt, because it's no good to have the belt vacated even for a couple of weeks. It's like, at least you can start telling a story now from where you're at to where you're going. It might not work out as well. I think that there would have been a better story to be told between Ash and Indy. Like, if you had have started to build it up, there could have been a really good story there, but, obviously there can't be now. But we'll have to wait and see what they can build in, I think it's only 2 weeks now, but oh my God, that's so crazy. And it's really bad in that regard of being like, oh my God, how are you going to put together this story and it actually be compelling and people actually, somewhat give a shit about it. I don't know. So yeah, but whatever. We will go along and talk about the if I can find stuff. Apparently I cannot find stuff here at all. What is going on here? What is this? I thought this actually had the I don't know. What is going on here? Well, apparently the thing I'm reading's not telling me the right stuff, so I don't know what's going on. Let's see if I can. This might be a better source. Here we go. This has actually got the actual right stuff on here. So we're starting with the pre-show match, the X Division match between Cedric Alexander, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz. So yeah, it is one of those things. I like to reread through some of these things, and just rereading through some of these things help me focus my thoughts, because sometimes I can get a bit distracted. I was interested with that early spot. They did that whole Shawn Michaels Triple H spot where Trey Superkick Wentz to sort of showcase, hey, this is every man for himself in this match. So, as I said before, it's kind of a weird one to kind of think about, being like, what are these guys fighting for if they're not fighting for a number one contendership? You know what I mean? That was implied in the match. These guys might get closer to getting to that title, but that's probably again why it was somewhat on the pre-show, because there wasn't a lot of stakes. There wasn't a lot of direction here. But that's fine. It was a pretty decent little match here to sort of start warming the crowd up. The winner of this one was Zachary Wentz. So, like I said, again, I don't know what you're doing with that. Where's that going? Are you going to do something with that? Maybe not. Dude, I don't know. That's what I mean. What's the go here? That's my thoughts. Hopefully it does turn into something, because I would like to see it. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, the early super kick was pretty crazy. Lots of stuff going on. It's an X Division match, but Wentz put Alexander away with the UFO cutter here, so Alexander has not gotten a single win and not been protected at all in his run here in TNA. So he's having a tough time. So I kind of feel like there might be like a heel turn coming for him or something. So we'll wait and see with that. During a backstage interview with Steve Macklin, El Messias, Triple A's El Messias, formerly known as Judas Messias, had a bit of a stare down with Steve Macklin, obviously foreshadowing for later. Then we had the AJ Francis penthouse, and Matt Hardy came out to interrupt him in the middle of, running down the town or running down stuff and things and whatnot. AJ Francis put Matt Hardy in through a table, which basically would be the setup for a later match in the night. Then the system came down to call out Order 4 so that they could try to take them out so that they wouldn't be a factor in the Ali versus Moose match. And that match was the match that kicked off Victory Road. But yes, the system won in a fairly short encounter here. So that was okay, and we'll wait to see like what becomes of that. I don't think that much changes there. Ash by Elegance, we've already talked about this. She came out to vacate the title, so that was a bit sad. They immediately said, hey, the Knockouts tag team match that was going to be on this show is going to be tomorrow night, or on one of the tapings at least. And tonight we're going to have a battle royal, and then the two last people in the battle royal are going to have a one-on-one match. So yeah, for the title, and that, yeah, whatever. So my initial thought, my big thought was, right, well, it's going to be Danny Luna and Jody Threat, because those are the only two people like that were like mainly single stars and had some sort of story that I could think, okay, this could work, this could make sense. Jody has a story with Indy Hartwell. There's a lot of heat there. There's a lot of stuff going on there. You can not pay that off, but you can start like building more stuff with that. So I thought that would be where they went, and I was like, okay. I was sitting there waiting for like that to like eventuate, but Danny eliminated Jody, so I thought, oh, okay, well, I still think Danny's gonna win because like she's the only one that's like got any real story going or whatever, or well, she's gonna be one of the last two at least, and then she might win the title, like, because then you've got that whole like eyeing you down type thing. You and I have, crossed these paths many a time. We've been at each other's throats, and we've, like for the last few weeks, like obvious. But then she got eliminated, and it was like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on here? And then the last two was Kalani Jordan and Lei Ling Lee. And I was like, sure, okay. I won't really spoil it into the match later on because we will talk about it later on. But like, I was just like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, and I will talk more about it as we get closer to it. Hometown Man versus Matt Cardona versus the Nemesis. Somehow, some way, the Hometown Man and Matt Cardona won this thing. What the heck? Like, what is going on? Actually, I'll just say before this, Gia Miller interviewed Indy Hartwell, who said, hey, I'm going to call the match between Lei Ling Lee and, what's her name? Kalani Jordan. Down the middle. And then, even though I'm gonna have to face one of them at Bound for Glory, and it was kind of like almost like, well, you've already said that Lei Ling Lee is going to be last in the Call Your Shot, so like I don't know why that was, but whatever. So yeah, but anyway, the Matt Cardona and the hometown man again. I don't know what they were doing here, what the thought was here. Like again, the Nemeth got some heat back at the end of this, but like getting heat back is only going to do so much for them. But then again, I think they might be moving away from them as like the team to be, and they might be more of a team that sort of puts like it's a semi-main event team that sort of puts the last few teams over because again you've got that well Nemeth has done well at least Nick Nemeth has pretty much done everything, so it's like well why kind of keep him there in that position of being the guy. Like it's great to have somebody be the guy and be like okay we're going to hand that off to other people, but you usually have to elevate them past that. But still, it is what it is. But anyway, next was Mike Santana taking on Rich Holland. I was actually like somewhat surprised by this. Pretty good match. I think that this is the next like standout match. A lot of the other matches, like, oh well, this was like one of the first few matches anyway. Like, but whatever. Like, this was the first real standout match I think of the show. Quite good. Mostly a big time brawl, big time fight here, back and forth between these two. Like I think that like again, I haven't seen much of this guy Ridge Holland. Like I haven't barely ever heard of him. Like I said, I don't think he's really achieved anything in NXT or WWE, or maybe he's done some stuff on the indies. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really dive into the indies that much, but he looked good here, though I still think, like it was painfully obvious in some ways sometimes that this wasn't, this wasn't going to amount to much. But hey, like Trick Williams coming out at the end to attack Santana after Santana had won, helping to like build a little bit more of that momentum towards Bound for Glory. And I really liked Santana's like video package that they had this last week. That was really good. Like, saying, you've defeated your sloth, you've done this to, you've overcome your, all these things, you've overcome your sin, you've done this, you've done, like all that stuff that, that was going through. That was quite good. I think you could do that with like literally just about anyone, but like it's really effective with, with Santana. I think that was really cool. But basically it's like the My Way video, like you could use that for just about anyone really. I think it really works with somebody that's gone down, and then you say, okay, let's say, hey, you've overcome this, you've overcome that, like that was great. So, but yeah, I was happy with this one, and I think that this was one that is worth checking out. That's on the show. The next one, obviously, there was a TNA injury report about like, Joe Hendry got attacked backstage, and there was an injury report to say, hey, we don't know how his condition is, so he might not be able to wrestle. But everything else was pretty clear for the matches that are happening tonight. And then they cleared Matt Hardy to compete against AJ Francis. We'll get to that in a minute. Then Moose battled Mustafa Ali. This was like probably like the top 1 or 2 matches on this show. But yeah, like awesome stuff. Like I was like as I said before, like thinking how are they going to pull this off with the Order 4 being in the back and all of that stuff for Ali to win by shenanigans or what have you. And Tasha Steelz dressed up or changed places somehow with one of the exotic dances that Ali brought to the ring, which is the first time that he's ever done that. Because that was an obvious or somewhat an obvious thing, and they were also just sitting at ringside for most of the match, so it was obvious that, well, something's going to happen here, In some ways, you don't do that, and unless there's some reason for it. In some ways, but maybe that's in hindsight. I don't know, but it was just like, this is a bit sus. Like anything that ever happens, I'm always like, that's a bit sus. Um, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're like, oh yeah, something's gonna happen here. So, but yeah, Tasha Steeles was one of the dancers or whatever. Or yeah, well, I don't know whether she was one of the dancers or whether she replaced one of the dancers or whatever. But that led Ali to the win here. So they're going into hardcore war, or the Order 4 is going into hardcore war with the man advantage. I don't know about hardcore war actually quite yet, and whether I think, like, I do think maybe like the Order 4 might win. I did sort of squirrel into that because I was like, you might be going that way, because it's like, well, again, you've got to start making this new faction a big deal, and you've kind of got to make Ali a big deal, and like you've got to make more people into that main event scene for other people to be like, oh yes, you're a worthy opponent, not just some guy that's here and jobbing out or whatever. Next one was Eric Young taking on Joe Hendry. Eric Young came out and said, hey, Joe Hendry can't make it, but Joe Hendry came out because he said his name. And you had the fellow in the background with the Cleanse is Coming sign throughout this match. So it's obvious, like, in some ways that you've got another wrestler potentially there behind that, and it's not Judas Icarus or Travis Williams. As this match was coming down to the end, Eric Young introduced steel chairs, and Judas Icarus and Travis Williams actually came out to stop Eric Young, and that led Eric Young to losing this match by Joe Hendry, giving him the standing ovation into a chair. So I feel like if you're going to do something, you're going to, like, down the road, you're going to do something with chairs match. I know that probably not like the greatest, but it's like still is something that you could do. I mean, maybe it won't be part of the actual stipulation. Maybe it'll be involved in the stipulation, but maybe it'll be just, a callback, or it might not even be. Who knows? Sometimes it's not. But honestly, that is fairly rare. So at least, like, hopefully they'll figure out, like, what they're doing with it, and how they're going about. Like, I don't, like I said, like, you could, like, move on from this, but I feel like it's not over. Like, so. But we'll wait and we'll see. Next up was Matt Hardy versus AJ Francis in tables match. I really haven't got much to say about this. This was like a very mediocre match. There were some things that I thought, like I think the main reason for this match was that, hey, we're going to have a tables match at Bound for Glory, and we haven't got anything else for Matt Hardy to do tonight. So he's got to have a match with somebody, and it's got to be a tables match. And they were just like, well, we'll throw this together, and, like, it'll put it out there, and, like, that's what basically happened. And that's what you get. Like, if this match had been built up, even if this match had been built up, I actually think it would have been worse. Because then I think people would be let down by how, like, medium this match was. And especially, like, this late in the card. Like, if it was earlier in the card, maybe I could say, oh, well, or maybe if it was between two, like, bigger matches, and you're saying, oh, well, this is, like, the cool down match. Though, they're, like, I will say Eric Young and that was a pretty good match, and, like, Mustafa Ali and Moose was a really good match, and the Mike Santana match was pretty good, even though I didn't think it was going to be. And I think the match that followed this was pretty good. Like, again, I guess you could say that it was a cool down match, I guess, so whatever. All right, fine. But, like, I think, like, if you had have built this, it would have been, like, worse. So I actually agree with the idea of saying, let's just throw it out there and let's just have them go out there. And obviously Matt Hardy won this because reasons. I felt like that AJ should win this. And whatnot, because then you would have a reason or some sort of bigger reason for him to come back and say, hey, I beat you in that, tables match a few weeks ago, whatever it was. Now you don't have anything for him to come back with and say, hey, I beat you over here or something. And now you've just, like, screwed him over for, like, a while in challenging Matt again. So it's like, unless you're going to, like, and again, they haven't, mentioned Rich Swann, but they haven't really had him on for a while. It's like, what is going on? So, but whatever. Yeah, I haven't got much to say about this. I kind of don't want to talk about the next match between Leiling Lee and Kalani Jordan, but I have to. I have a big rant as well about this match. But first, like, this was a really good match. I can't deny that. I have to say, chalk from cheese. Apart from my, like, feelings or whatever else, or thoughts, or anything else. Like, this was a very good match between these two. But, like, I was, like, so tuned out from this match because I was just like, what the heck is going on? And I had no investment in Kalani Jordan because, again, like, I've never really seen her before. Don't know much about her. I know she was the first, like, NXT North American Women's Champion. That, like, the only reason I knew that was because they mentioned it on commentary. And Leiling Lee hasn't really, like, done anything for me since she got here. Like, I think the best thing she's, like, done has been in a tag team because, like, she's not like the caliber that I think it should be for a Knockouts World Champion. That's just me. You have, like, unless you can present her in the really right way, I really don't think she can carry that. Having said that, I would have preferred that this probably go the other way at least, because then at least we don't have to go through this whole thing of, let's put it on a WWE guy again, And it's like, for frick's sake. So, yeah, that's where this has gone. And rants begins, I guess, because Kalani Jordan won this match and is now the Knockouts World Champion. Look, I don't think it's a bad thing for TNA in some ways to help build young stars. And I think that is, in essence, what, this is designed to do. It's designed to say, let's put this belt on Kalani, let's give her a few months to run with this belt, and, there's an obvious story here, which I'll get to in a second, but, let's see where that goes, and she'll be made a bigger star by the end of it, and hopefully be ready for the main roster in WWE. One of the biggest problems, I guess, that I have is that now it really, like, every time you think it's like, now it's really becoming like, no, now we're just a feeder system or a developmental system for WWE. That's not what TNA is, and it's not what TNA should be, like, in my opinion. Like, that's just absolutely, like, terrible. Like, and that's where I think this has come from. Like, honestly, I don't think that this was a TNA decision in some ways to say, let's put the belt on this person, because, like, the obvious, like, thing to do was right there. And I think, like, maybe, like, the way that match kind of, the battle royal kind of worked out, maybe that wasn't the plan, but, like, to me, it's, like, the most obvious thing, like, that you would have there. So, like, I don't know what else would have been the plan. Like, if like maybe that was just like the thing that they decided to do on the night. I don't know, but I really feel like this was something WWE said, "Hey, we hear this or we hear that or whatever else um is going on. Ash by Elegance is going away. We have a young kid here. Can you push them, please? And or well, not please, but push them right now, right here, right now. Give them the belt, and off we go. Give them 6 months. So that's where I think we're at. And like, I want to go back to the TNA invasion. So that's where I think this story is kind of going now, which I think you've already kind of told sort of a very similar-ish story, but like you could like finalize it off properly, I guess, rather than just like, oh, now it's over like a month later. And the like one of the biggest problems I have is like this continues this like, oh, we're getting a person that they're not using for a few weeks or whatever else it is, and then they're going to be gone. So what does that really do for us? Like, but yeah. So the obvious storyline here is like Kalani seems like she's a babyface. She's trying to earn the respect, do things the right way, but everyone is like, screw you. You're an NXT person. We don't care about you. We've just been screwed over the last 6 months or even more by you guys, by your brand, by your, like all this stuff, by all these people, by, WWE in general, and NXT in general and whatnot, but certainly by Trick Williams and by, what's her name? JC Jane and all of that sort of stuff. And like, we're sick of it. And so eventually she's going to get like sick of people like pointing the finger and saying, you get out of our locker room, you don't belong here, etc., that sort of thing. That's our title, etc., la-di-da-di-da. And then she's going to potentially turn heel. That, or you're going to try to turn like a bunch of like knockouts that are on the roster currently into heels, which I don't think really works. Like, I think like it would probably be better to try to turn Kalani heel and then say, okay, let's see what she can do as a heel, because she can, like, if you're in this locker room and you're facing all these people, well, I don't know how many people now, because it is like very much thinned off now. You've really got to like, you haven't got Ash and you haven't got Marsha, who were like the two biggest faces in the division. Like, and like if you had Kyle and King back, like at least that would be like another person that you could start really like, let's mold this person really quickly or whatever, or mold another person really quickly as much as what we can, because we really need more people in that main event scene for the title. We can't just like leave that bare and like have only like no one there, or basically you're just funneling in your tag team people into there, or your women's tag team people into there. So like I have so many problems with this. And like, I think I'm just like sick of this like experiment like with WWE. So I'm fully ready for them just to be like, somebody win this belt. Like, but the problem with that is like, I really don't want them to hot potato the belt anymore, because like it's been here, there, and everywhere. It was on JC Jane for like a month, and now it's barely been on Ash for a month. So. And again, like, I don't know the situation, but like, if this was what was going to happen, like, as far as like Ash was going to vacate before facing Indy Hartwell, I think that's like a real stinker. Like, it's a bit of a stinker in some ways overall, but it's just like, again, like, obviously none of it was planned, but I don't know, so. This was like, I think some of the fans were into it, but I'm not. I am not, bro. I do not care. And I'm really pissed at this. Like, I think it's one of those things that I think this is why people were pissed at what's his name, Vikingo, for winning the title. It was like, that's not what we wanted, and that's not like where things were naturally kind of going and whatnot. So WWE, I know they changed it and whatnot, but now Mysterio is holding their title. It's like gonna be the same thing. They're gonna find out the same thing that we've been finding out. Like, even though they said, hey, we're not really gonna get that involved, maybe some of our guys are gonna be here or whatever else it is, but we're not gonna, get that involved. This is your show, blah, blah, blah. We're just here to help, whatever. That seems like a lot of bullshit now that, one of your guys is holding their title, and you've probably been like, yeah, we need Dominic to hold your title. Go do that for us now. Like, same sort of thing. It's like, and that's why, like, there is big positives, obviously, to the NXT TNA relationship, but, like, just being the lackey for WWE isn't one of them. You cannot continue just to be the yes man or whatever to WWE, being like, we have this person, push them, please. That's your problem, dude. Like, if you haven't got the time, the energy, or whatever else it is to push that person or whatever, then you don't want them. Release them. Let them go. Let them come here to TNA. Let them go there to AEW. Let them do whatever they want to do, because obviously you don't give a rat's ass about them if you don't have the time for them. And again, that's the same thing in TNA. They don't have time for everyone, but, like, they do try their best to do it. And I get that that's the same in WWE, but again, like, if you're saying, hey, we're going to send you this person because we haven't got enough time for them, well, that's not our problem. We can use them on our show or whatever else it is, and they might be a good hand in the mid card or even the upper card or whatever else it is, or even the tag team division. But, like, why should we put the belt on them? Besides, like, ooh, we're doing the same thing again, basically. And here we've got to go through the same hoops again of you guys having more exclusive access over that talent and saying, hey, forget about you guys. Your guys on our show all the bloody time. And that is in a way good, but again, it's like, when it's like, you're literally taking them away from us. You're not just saying, hey, they'll also be on our show and that'll help you out. You're saying, no, she's ours, so bye, see you later, whatever. You're not saying, let's work together. You're saying, hey, help us out by giving us your title and whatnot, And at a certain point, they've got to start saying no. So that's where I'm at with that. And, like, I don't know whether WWE is going to like that or not or whatever, but, like, that's where they've got to be at a certain point. All right. I've got to move on, because otherwise I'll be here all night rambling on about this goddamn match. So I've got to move on. Steve Maclin versus Frankie Kazarian. I can't believe this match, honestly, after watching it. This was a pretty good match. I wasn't expecting much out of this match, to be honest, because I was thinking, where are we going next? I was so focused on, like, looking down the track that this one did surprise me. And, but then I remembered, like, oh yeah, what's his name is Macias is back there, so Macklin's going to get distracted at some point. I thought that would help Kazarian just, like, get an advantage here or there or whatever else it was. But it led to Maclin losing this match and Frankie Kazarian winning the international title. Okay, sure, fine. Like, I think that this is, like, second place fiddle, so to speak, in some ways, because they were like, maybe we'll put the world title on you and give you a chance. But like, it was the same thing for Macklin. This is a second place fiddle type thing. We couldn't give you a proper world title run. Here you go. Here's a title. Let's give you a few months to have a proper like title run and like run through that. Now they're doing the same sort of thing with Kaz. Like, we couldn't give you the world title, Kaz, for reasons or whatever else it was. But here you go. Here's the international title. Go run with that, and maybe we'll put somebody over you and shenanigans or whatever. I don't know. Like, this far into the year, and at this point, it like just like trails off, and I feel like, okay, you're gonna have to have a rematch now, and that's probably gonna be at Bound for Glory. So like, that's got to be some sort of stipulation match. But then again, you might be like, hey, there's Macias guy and Macklin. But like, I feel like that's more of a speed bump, unless Macias is like sticking around long term. And that's a lot of the problems with like, here's this person. Are they sticking around? Probably not. Like, that's the same thing with Ridge Holland. It was like, dude, this guy debuted like 5 seconds ago and is probably leaving in the next 5 seconds. Like, there's no way to get invested in them. The same thing with Kalani. It's like, oh, cool, here's this person that debuted 5 seconds ago, and oh, shit, now they're the champion, and they'll probably be gone in the next, like, few months. Okay, cool, no investment, bye. Great work, and again, like, it's not their fault, but still, they're complicit. They have to start saying no. But anyway, yeah. So I'm expecting, 6 months at least before Kazarian drops his belt or somebody beats him for this belt. So, who could beat him? I don't know, dude. Maybe you could turn Jake something babyface and then have him win the belt. I don't know. I kind of feel like if you're gonna turn him babyface and have him win a belt, maybe it should be the world title. But I don't know. I still feel like he hasn't really come out and said, "Hey, this is why I did this." Though it's obvious, but hearing it and hearing the motivations and starting that story for that character is something that they need to do. So we'll wait to see if they do that. The main event. And I was surprised that this was going to be the main event. So I was like, dude, they're going to have to pull something seriously good out. Like, the match was very good. I think that this is the top match of the night. If not, it's definitely in the top few matches of the night. They had to pull out a lot of the stops here tonight to try to, get this to that main event picture level. And this was awesome in that way. Kudos to them to go out there and I don't think it had been announced beforehand or whatever what the main event was going to be. And there was a lot of questions about what the main event was going to be. It's a pity that this match had not nearly enough build-up to really have people, on the edge of their seat being like, Myron could win, or whatever. It was just yeah, there's not much here. We kind of want to see Myron. He's kind of cool, and he hasn't really got his dues yet. And that was kind of the idea, in some ways. This is his first real opportunity to showcase himself, and he's probably not going to win, but, he did some really cool stuff here and there in the match. But yeah, he couldn't get it done at the end of the day. But still, really, really good match. And I was expecting something at the end. And this is, again, where I'm going to have to complain about the NXT exceptionalism. Because they decided that Javon Evans is going to face Leon Slater at Bound for Glory. What? Seriously? Are you serious? This is what I was just fucking talking about. I have barely seen anything of Javon. I think he was the one that was in the tag team, or was that somebody else with Trick? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I don't know. So, like, I've barely heard of this kid. I don't know if he's done a whole lot of anything. Somebody's going to say, hey, yes, he's done this, he's done that, blah, blah, blah. He's been in NXT for like 500 years, done nothing, basically. But yeah, he does jumpy stuff, which will make a cool match. Yeah, cool match, no story. The only like little bit of story that is kind of here is like not that Leon's the last person to hold a title that's a TNA star, obviously, but again, it's another let's defend against NXT storyline, you know. Meanwhile, there's a TNA NXT invasion thing going on, and potentially in a few months we might have a war games or some sort of other style of match. And that'll be cool in some ways, but, like, the ways those matches become, like, good is by continuing to, give the baby faces something to fight for. So, unfortunately, it starts to feel like, well, they're obviously going to, take that title too. And Leon hasn't even held it for, 6 months or whatever it's been. It's not an incredibly short time to hold the title, but it's really only just gotten started. But then again, the problem is, it's like, well, who else is on that roster? There isn't really anyone else on that roster, so the best thing to do is have him there defending against the NXT guys or chasing away the NXT guys. But then again, there's no one else there in that division even to challenge him for the X Division title, really. Like, unless you're going to go back to some of the guys that are already in tag teams and whatnot. So, before I rant again too much, I guess, because this might be seen as a bit of a rant. WWE, TNA. Okay, guys, I want you to sit down and listen, because I'm going to introduce you to this crazy, absolutely insane, newfangled idea that I've just this moment right here, right now, come up with. No one's ever heard or seen of it before. This thing called the law of diminishing returns, okay? Basically, the law of diminishing returns is saying the more you do the same sort of thing, the less of a return that you're going to get further down the road. So, I know it's, guys, I know it's the most crazy idea you've ever heard of. You've never heard of this idea. Wow. So, but honestly, that is where I'm at with this, guys. And actually, it's kind of cool. One thing is kind of cool, which is the Team TNA shirts. So that is going to help in some ways. I'm waiting to see, where's the Team WWE shirts? I actually kind of want to see, like, the WWE versus TNA, like, as shirts. Like, I don't think anyone's presented them as shirts or as hoodies or as whatever else. So there's a big merchandising thing there, like the Invasion, TNA, NXT Invasion shirts, like obviously that's where we're going at some point. So that is the smallest piece that will be cool. The rest of it is, like, well, not cool, but like, oh, wow, they did the thing. They finally, had a pay-per-view together. They finally did something, where they actually brought, their players to the square, and, like, TNA finally got the thing over, and that's where it's going, in my opinion, at least, or at least hopefully. And I don't want Javon Evans to win this title. I like too many titles. Like when Mike Bailey won the title, and then they decided to put it on Wentz, just so that because he was going to turn up on NXT and be like, hey, he's going to represent the X Division title. So what? Like, that's what it's been. It's been like, we've got to get like these guys that are on TNA over there. And like in some ways, like I said this before, it could be like you're planting that seed, and starting to get that feelers out there for, like, hey, we can show you these guys on your TV show without them having a TV show on your show, and show you, hey, no, these TNA guys, they can draw a crowd, they can draw an audience, they can draw tickets, they can, sell more merch, they can do all these things to this TV audience. So they will be invested and they will, come to see it. So perhaps that will be the other little cool thing, but I am so over it. I am so sick of the same thing. Like, we've been going, like, and it's been, like, maybe this is, like, the only story that hasn't already been over, like, 6 months ago, or even 3 months ago, whatever it was, because every other storyline that they've kind of done has been like, oh, this thing starts, oh, it ends 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, or a month later. Okay, cool, this thing starts. Oh, cool, it ends like 2 or 3 weeks later, or whatever it is. They have had terrible ADHD booking as of late. And I've said that and said that and said that time and time again. And it has messed up what's been happening in TNA. Like, there's other things that have messed things up and not helped things, or whatever else it is. Like, again, the titles, they need stability. Like, you can't keep hot potatoing the titles between people. You've got to have people that feel ready to get those belts, and then they get those belts, type thing. You've got to build people up. You've like in the next 4 or 5 years, I kind of am waiting to see how Leon Slater is gonna win the world title, because like that's something that I'm really invested in. Like I think that he might win the tag titles or the international title first before that, but like I do feel like you're now on that path to start saying he will be like the youngest world champion as well. So that will be really, really cool. But I do think you need a good few years before you get to that point. So giving him good stuff to do and highlighting him in the next few years, like obviously he's going to be there, but like you need to start building him up. Like I think the hardest thing for him to do will be being a tag team guy. Like, how can he be a tag team guy? Who's he going to tag with? Maybe Cedric. I don't know. Like, but it needs to feel like a natural reason for him to tag with somebody for a long period, not just a few months or whatever else it is, so. But yeah, I'm still interested in that in some regards. But, like, there's a lot of stuff that, like, because it is tough, like I said, like, the way you're taking things to book things and say, well, this is the payoff, that's all these things that I can already tell where you're trying to go with those things, that's great. But the problem that I have is like, you've already cooked the chicken, so to speak, and now you're going, hey, we'll put it back in and cook it again, we'll do the same thing that we just did. Like I said, it's, diminishing returns. You're trying too hard to do the same thing again that you didn't successfully do before, kind of thing. Yes, you're kind of doing it in a different way now. It's not JC Jane, the heel, being like, ha 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 ha, rubbing it all in your face and whatnot. It's this young kid who's, gonna, either change their ways or whatever else it is, or some, like whatever, or be pissed off or whatever else by, not the mockery or whatever, but by the people saying, get out of here, you don't belong here, you shouldn't have that title, you don't, you don't even go here, whatever. So, but like as I said, it's only like 2 weeks away from Bound for Glory, and I said, there's no way now, like in my opinion, like you're changing the title. No way. Like zero. Andy Hartwell's not winning it. Not within 2 weeks of somebody else already winning it. You're not going to continually hot potato the title like that. And you've got to tell a story. And the story's right there and blooming obvious, isn't it? As I sort of already have said what it's going to be. So, but yeah. The question, I think, does become like, who gets this belt? When do they get it? Like, I was thinking like it's going to be at the NXT Invasion show. Same, like, and I was thinking like, is Javon Evans going to win the title? Does that make sense? I don't think it makes sense. Like, if you have somebody in the Cody shot win the X Division, like, win that and then wins the X Division title, that just still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because then you're like, oh man, like, why did they go ahead and do that? That was silly. They should have just gone for the world title. So I kind of feel like that's something that they could also be doing, is being like, oh, here's this NXT person in the TNA Rumble or whatever, and they win it, and then they get the title. Because I was thinking before, like, you might have it be on, Mace Warner, or you might have it on Mustafa Ali, but with the track record that they're going with so far, it'll be somebody like that's already retired in WWE, like The Undertaker or something, somehow wins it, and that still doesn't make no friggin' sense. But still, like, that will be, like, not surprising to me, because, like, they're just, like, this is the problem. They're bowing down to WWE and just, like, letting them say, yeah, do this for us, do that for us, do this for us, whatever. Yes, we might get some payoffs out of it, but it's like, God almighty, for frick's sake, like, move on, please. I'm over it, so over it. So yeah, I can't wait for it to be over and to be like back to normal programming, so to speak, in some ways. And yeah, but anyway, guys, it was a fairly enjoyable show for the most part. I don't want to just look ahead at the doom and gloom, I guess, or whatever, because there is still potential. You could still say, oh, well, we might go the other way with things. I hope that they do, because I don't want things to be like, oh my God, we're going through the same shit again. Come on, like, as I said. But yeah, it's just like so much of that, like, so I feel like it will be, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope you will join me again in another one.